Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone. Today Group 8 will be presenting Case 4 on Leukemia and Lymphoma Society LLS. Firstly, I would like to introduce our group members, me myself Nurul Huda, Nur Alia, Nuraini and Nurul Shahida. Our presentation outline will be organization background, case timeline, symptom, major issue, decision maker presented by me, Megatrend and SDG pastel analysis presented by Alia, financial ratio analysis alternative 1 presented by Nuraini, alternative 2 decision criteria recommendation presented by Shahida. Organization background. Leukemia and Lymphoma Society LLS was founded in 1944 as tribute by the family for Robert Roger de Villiers. It is headquartered in White Plains, New York. LLS is the predecessor to Leukemia Society of America and promotes itself as the world's largest voluntary health organization. Next is the case timeline. In 2008, George Walker became the president and CEO of LLS since joining in 1995. He is tasked with achieving LLS double bottom line that comprises societal and financial performance. In the same year, through collaborative efforts, GlaxoSmithKline released genomic profiling data for over 300 cancer cell lines in order to enable cancer research institutions to save drug development time. This new technology arising intellectual property issues between the regulator and corporations. In 2010, Louis de Janeiro became Chief Mission Officer and entitled to the responsibility of oversight all LLS mission functions. In 2011, LLS, through the program services offered, make a total payment of 43.5 million for financial aid and copay assistance to the patients. Lastly, in 2012, George Omiros became the Executive Vice President of Campaign and Field Development, providing strategic direction and overall management of LLS campaign activities, including LLS core campaigns of fundraising. From the case, the symptoms that we identify are traditional fundraising mechanism where LLS has high dependency on fundraising to generate revenue, declining R&D productivity, governance oversight issues, and increasing regulatory hurdles. Based on these symptoms, the major issue that we identify is LLS business model inefficiency, specifically its cost structure and revenue streams to sustain the organization's strategic objective. We decided LLS Board of Directors as the decision maker due to their responsibilities for the oversight of LLS financial, ethical and legal affairs. And that's all from me. I'll pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Alia. I will be presenting on the megatrend, SDG, and the first analytical tools. The megatrend that we identify is the technology advancement in the healthcare industry. The healthcare industry has seen rapid development in terms of technology, innovation, and practices. Technology like artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, and others are starting to be used in developing medical devices and equipment. With new technologies, many people who are suffering from cancer can be treated, but they will incur a lot of medical costs since new medical technologies, service, and medical equipment are expensive. Next is the Sustainable Development Goals. The SDG that are related to this case is the SDG 3, Good Health and Well-being. The mission of the LLS is to cure leukemia, lymphoma, Hodgkin disease, and myeloma and improve the quality of life of the patients. It is in line with the target 3.4, which is to reduce mortality from non-communicable disease and promote mental health. Next is the analytical tools. The first analytical tools that we use for this case is the pestle analysis. For politics, the first factors are beneficial tax implication for donor groups. With the government budget crisis and the expiration of the Bush-era tax cuts, President Obama has considered to reduce or to eliminate the charitable giving tax break. Reducing the donor's tax deduction for charitable donations would harm charity, as the changes in the tax code would discourage donation, as the donors may decide to reduce or even retract funding, which plays a huge role in the survivability of many charities. Since LLS revenues are mainly funded through donations, the changes in the policies and tax structure will result in a slowdown of such fundings. The second is political lobbying. Although firms do not directly make government policy decisions, many industry and firms invest in lobbying efforts to try to influence government policy development to create opportunities. The Office of Public Policy of LLS targets the governments and business decision makers to speed up the development and approval of new treatments and improve care access through equitable insurance reimbursement. As a result, LLS has successfully lobbied Congress to authorize legislation for a new blood cancer research effort and create new blood cancer education program for patients and was funded at 32 million. For the economic elements, LLS and all non-profit are suffering from the recession. During times of economic downturns, the jobs are scarce and earnings are low. In such a situation, people are less likely to be worried about social causes and more concerned about self-welfare. As a result, charities and non-profits such as LLS, which are dependent upon donation, are likely to suffer. Moreover, there will be an increasing demand for the medical service that non-profit provide because the economic downturns are disruptive to people's livelihood, with nearly everyone in the economy being financially impacted. There will be an increase in demand for the non-profit services as there are a greater number of patients who are unable to pay their medical expense. As the number of donors decrease due to recession, LLS may not be able to cater the demand for its service because of the insufficient funds. For social, the demand for charity transparency among the donors impact LLS fundraising capabilities. Donors, especially youngest ones, increasingly looking for non-profit that make an impact by truly helping a specific issue. Donors have plenty of options when it comes to giving money to a non-profit. Thus, it is important that LLS demonstrate to donors what they plan to do with the money raised and how it will enable the charity's mission and objective to be fulfilled. The more transparent the LLS with the public, the more trust and confidence the public will have in the sector. As the pharmaceutical industry is dedicated to improving patient outcomes, the cost of developing the drugs have become excessive. The average cost of successfully developing a novel therapeutic is more than $800 million. Consequently, the industry has responded with retrenchment initiatives, including reorganization of R&D operation. High R&D expenses are also led to the declining in R&D activities, and the innovation for new product will also be reduced. For technology, the advancement of technology in the healthcare industry will create new business prospects both in terms of new therapy system and service provision. The availability of newer treatment technology leading to better outcome can enhance the quality of life of the patients. However, technology advancement in medical equipment is one of the factors responsible for the continuing escalation of medical costs. This means that there will be an increase in demand for LLS service as medical patients cannot afford medical service since the new medical technologies are expensive. With the pharmaceutical industry progressing towards collaborative research to establish better information sharing mechanism, the issue of intellectual property has been arise. Acquiring the knowledge needed to produce the drug is a costly affair. Taking advantage of the experience of others can be much cheaper than gaining such experience firsthand. So, collaborating with other corporations can be a way to leverage its experience without locking into a commitment to build up the required knowledge internally. The issue of intellectual property arises because the US Federal Acquisition Regulation (FAR) does not clearly address scenario where both federal and contractor employees work together on a project and are co-investors of a resulting invention. It may result in expensive lawsuits and may impact LLS if they are involved with these issues. In our opinion, the environmental element is not relevant to the case because there are no significant environmental factors affecting the pharmaceutical industry. This is because the development and production of pharmaceutical products have much less environmental impact than other industries. For the legal element, in almost every country, the pharmaceutical industry has a strict regulatory framework to follow. The strict regulatory for drug approval impact new cancer therapeutic from reaching the market. The increasing requirement for clinical data delays drug approvals through longer as there are more detailed processes and agencies to review. New drug and device approval in the United States take an average of 12 and 7 years respectively from preclinical testing to approval. Strict regulation may have served the public with enhanced assurance of therapeutic safety, but it has resulted from an increasingly complex regulatory environment and the expense associated with the drug development. Lastly, delayed regulation by the government in the non-profit industry can lead to the fraud due to lack of the oversight. Without effective oversight, LLS and other non-profit can easily lose sight of their missions, or misusing funds can subject firms to agency problem caused from excessive executive salaries or professional fees associated with the operations.
Thank you, Alia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Noraini. Next, I'll proceed with financial ratio analysis. In non-profit organization, including LLS, financial ratio analysis is needed in their analysis to examine the financial efficiency by giving the information about the organization performance and financial wellness. Net operating ratio refers to the effectiveness of the organization in generating the surplus that may be helpful in terms of forecasting. Based on the net operating ratio, we can know whether or not the revenue stream is being used to cover expenses in an efficient manner. The higher the ratio, the more cost efficient the company is. There is a significant increase in net operating ratio of LLS from 2008 to 2009. The ratio of LLS can be seen as increasing over the 4 years with a slight decrease in 2010. It means that LLS is improving in terms of income, which mainly come from the campaign contribution. As for the fundraising efficiency ratio, it signifies the effectiveness of fundraising activities based on the expenses required to raise contribution and event revenue. The higher the ratio, the more efficient the organization is at raising money. From 2008 to 2011, it shows an increasing trend with the range from 5.69 to 6.51. The ratio shows that LLS gains more than it spends. In 2011, LLS showed the highest ratio, which means LLS spent less money in fundraising expenses than it gains in campaign contributions. In 2011, LLS claimed that it was voted as the best charity program in team in training. Thus, from the program itself, LLS has increased its income. Next is program efficiency ratio. Program efficiency ratio measures how much an organization is spending on its primary mission rather than administrative costs. It is ideal for this indicator to be as close to 1 as possible since the stakeholders expect the majority of a non-profit organization's expenses to be directly related to its mission. From 2008 to 2011, generally LLS program efficiency ratio shows an increasing trend and the range is from 0.743 to 0.781. It means that LLS used its funds effectively for the program in fulfilling its mission. Lastly, from the operating reliance ratio, we can see how efficient the organization could pay all expenses from the program revenues alone. It can be measured by dividing the program revenue by total expenses. The ideal ratio is 1 or greater as it indicates that the organization's program are able to sustain themselves and the management is mindful of the organization expenses and cash flow. From 2008 to 2011, the range of LLS operating reliance ratio was from 0.903 to 0.948. It does not show the ideal ratio, where LLS does not have additional funds to expand program and grow other areas of the organization. Overall, LLS is on the right track in monitoring its organization to meet its goal. It can be shown through its effectiveness in spending the money from the stakeholders to generate income through campaign contribution especially. Hence, financial ratio analysis suggests LLS to pursue the status quo. Next, I will proceed with the alternative. Following the issue of LLS in the business model inefficiency, especially in cost structure and revenue streams, there are two alternatives for the company to sustain the organization's strategy objectives. The first recommended alternative for LLS to pursue is the status quo. This means that LLS should continue with its current traditional fundraising mechanism, where it is highly dependent on fundraising efforts through large events to sustain LLS revenue stream. Even it can be hard during the economic downturns, where everyone will focus on their self-welfare instead of social causes like charity. This impact of recession will be countered by economic growth. After the recovery process, LLS can subsequently increase the number of donors within time. However, the worst case scenario when LLS pursue the status quo is the high expenses incurred for R&D will exhaust LLS resources. The R&D expenses include drug development and medical treatment research that need more money to afford medical services. Furthermore, during the economic recession, LLS will not be able to cater the increasing demand for services. This is because the number of donors continue declining. As the number of donors decreases, LLS cannot fulfill the demand for its services because of the insufficient fund. That's all from me. I'll pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rishada. Next, moving on to the second alternative, which is business model innovation. So, as LLS is a non-profit organization, it needs to engage in innovating in their revenue-generating activities and to explore the abilities and skills they are required in order to innovate their business models. This is because LLS is highly reliant on the contribution and donation from the campaigns, as they are the major sources of income which contributed around 88% of its revenues. So by innovating LLS revenue-generating activities, financial sustainability might be achieved so that it could continue to operate even in the absence of some funding sources. So the best case scenario for this alternative is that LLS will have a sustainable revenue stream to support its growing R&D expenses in order to provide operational efficiency with patients. So this aligns with the LLS mission in achieving greater societal goals by working towards establishing new income streams across the world. However, the worst case scenarios for this alternative is conflict among the management in adapting to the business model. This is due to the differences in terms of geographical or cultural that might exist regarding the requirements for business model innovation for LLS. Okay, next, based on the alternatives identified, there are 3 decision criteria that have been proposed to assist in determining the best recommendation. So the first criteria is diversifying the LLS revenue streams. Because LLS is highly reliant on the charitable giving of donors, external forces and industry competition impact the ability to grow the existing revenue sources. So LLS need to diversify its revenue streams instead of raising most of their money from a single type of funding that was a natural match for their mission. Secondly, LLS should prioritize the quality services to their patients. LLS need to balance its resources to advance the diagnosis and treatment of patients with blood cancer by prioritizing the research, education, and advocacy. Research can be provided through programs and other special initiatives, while information and services need to be distributed nationally and locally for the patients throughout their cancer journey worldwide. Thirdly, LLS should address the governance issues in its organization. The non-profit industry is unregulated and unaccountable to outsiders because of light regulation in most states and lack of stockholders. This general lack of oversight can lead LLS to agency problems due to excessive executive salaries or professional fees associated with operation. Other than that, because LLS has multiple divisions and offices and also diverse set of contributors throughout the organization, it will bring some challenges for the board of directors to oversight and govern the management in order to enhance the accountability. Next, we recommend for LLS to implement the business model innovation. So we come up with a short and long-term plans in implementing the business model innovation for LLS in order to clearly see the process and steps and also to ensure the effectiveness in implementing the strategy. For the short-term plans, LLS may initially test and experiment their ideas through a pilot program. So it is one of the important aspects of innovation for the non-profit organization, as this is a key aspect of the business model innovation method. Besides that, experimenting ideas through pilot programs enables LLS to innovate their ideas and at the same time minimize the potential risks. So through this process, LLS can try things out on a small scale using the available resources first rather than implementing their ideas wholly from the beginning. So from that, LS can gain knowledge and experiences from the pilot experiences. LS can learn from the experiences and improvise their ideas in order to minimize risk when launching a new revenue generating program for a larger group of beneficiaries. So the second one, for the short-term plan, strengthen the LLS governance by delegating oversight roles to the Board of Trustees on the local level at each branch. So they need to prepare a performance report to be submitted to the Board of Directors every month to ensure the performance at branch level is in accordance with the organization objective. This is because all branches are relying on the central office to establish an overall plan and to guide the organizational action. So authority on oversighting the performance for every branches can be delegated from the center to the Board of Trustees for efficiency reasons, since they are based at each branch's level. Besides that, LS could provide training among the Board of Trustees to enhance their skills and knowledge on the LS financial, ethical, and legal affairs to monitor progress against LS goals and program effectiveness. Next, for the long term, LLS might innovate its business model by collaborating with their partners in order to access specialized knowledge and technology in identifying new and creative revenue activities. For example, LLS could enter into partnership to gain knowledge and expertise, reduce costs, help in distributing services to a wider group of beneficiaries, and for organizations' long-term success. Furthermore, when LLS jump into partnership, they could gain additional resources by receiving grant or through an agreement. It is one of the strategies to gain additional resources if the intended resources are unavailable or unattainable at the current time. So this might be one of the ways for LS to scale its operation beyond the current capacity of the organization. So to conclude, LS is a non-profit organization which is not just about delivering social services to improve the quality of life of patients and their families. They also need to be financially sustainable to ensure continuous treatment for their patients. Therefore, continual innovation of its business model is crucial to the success of LLS, and they need further exploration and improvement of the requirements for business model innovation, specifically for the non-profit organization. And that's all from us. Thank you.